Don't we have an environment minister who would speak up and try to help government understand the value in the protection that you're looking for?
Well, it's actually the Minister of Natural Resources that looks over the protected natural areas, and also that's the same department where forestry is managed. So there are dual mandates within that department that makes it perhaps challenging.
Are they conflicting?
I don't know if they're conflicting. They definitely have a hard time balancing them, I would say. They call it a balanced approach, but I would say that for them to be able to, for the Department of Natural Resources to credibly claim that they have a balanced approach to land management, they really need to boost that, what I call the ecological safety net. And that's what protected areas provide is, there's risk associated with going with more industrial uses of Crown land. And to balance that risk, you really need to have a strong protected area system, which other provinces are moving ahead with. And it's not magic. It's not, there are ways of doing this and still have areas where the industry is able to operate.
You have been lobbying for wilderness protection in our province for many years now. How would you describe the personality of the current government in terms of their response to you and your efforts?
I would say that in my dealings with, for example, the Minister of Natural Resources, he has affirmed to me that the commitment is still there to reach that 4.5% committed target to protected areas. He stated that the commitment is still there. They seem to be having some growing pains in figuring out how to actually put the permanent protection in place for those areas and what that means in the context of mining claims and the interests of the mining sector. So
how are they making that determination? Are they sitting down with people like you and biologists and naturalists who will say these areas need to be protected, they require protection? How is the decision being made?
Well, the decision is being made, I would say right now at this point, it's internal to government. So the discussions are happening internally to government, and they make those decisions. They have their own biologists that work on these areas, and they're trying to figure out, are there ways that we can move the boundaries of some of these candidates so that they won't be conflicting as much with these mining claims? Are there other options that we could put on the table to protect? So it is still internal to government. There's not, I would say that probably that's a weak point with our provincial government, not probably, definitely, is the consultation with stakeholders, the consultation with the public on these matters, that this is problem solving. And we really we need all the people to be contributing to solving that problem. And if they keep trying to do all of these things by themselves within the department, I think they're probably not looking at all the options they could be.
So are you going to be satisfied with the promise that 4.5% will be done when Nova Scotia is up to 12%?
Well, clearly we have a long way to go. We're not really holding up our end of the bargain in the Canadian context. Canada has committed to 17% protected areas, according to the most recent commitments at the Biodiversity Convention in Japan. And, New Brunswick is definitely not holding up our end of the bargain when it comes to that commitment. Other jurisdictions recognize the need and are moving ahead, and we aren't. So definitely that we've been on record that we think that they need to go much further, and then in fact, a better target would actually be for us to try and meet the national average, which is 9% of each jurisdiction.
What do you think the public response is going to be to this news?
The public, we know, is based upon polls, based upon surveys, based upon every consultation period that we've had, is supportive of having new protected areas, and they would like the government to work this out. They would like the government to actually protect these important areas, like the Restigouche Wilderness, like drinking water supply areas that supply the communities of Kedgwick and Moncton. Like, all these are along the Miramichi River watershed. They are important areas. People want them to be protected. They don't have very many avenues to put their voice forward, and because there's not a good public consultation process or public involvement process in the province.
And if nothing is done, if the foot dragging continues, what are we looking at?
Well, I would say that we are looking at probably a worsening reputation than we already have across Canada, because we are falling farther and farther behind as we do little, and other provinces and other jurisdictions are doing much more. Then it starts to show in our provincial reputation, and we start dragging down the whole team. And also, I would say from a forestry perspective that it's become much more important for them to have a good reputation. It's important for people to know that the forest products they buy are coming from areas where the forest is sustainably managed. And without a system, an extensive system of protected areas, you can't really claim that the forest is actually being sustainably managed. So it could become a problem for selling products as we move into an age when people are more conscious of these things, and they actually are making decisions based upon what they hear and what they learn about the reputation of the companies that are selling those products.
Thank you so much for coming in. Much appreciated.
Thanks.
Roberta Clowater is the Executive Director of the Canadian Parks and Wilderness Society. Any thoughts on what you've just heard, please let us know. info@Fredericton@cbc.ca. You can reach me on Twitter. My address is @SEGUINCBC. You can always leave your comments on our Facebook page. Just do a search for Information Morning Fredericton.